Hello, good morning, Texas and Louisiana. You are watching on your TVs on the Smart Money Culture TV network. And good morning and afternoon, world, evening, world. You're watching on X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and the rest. It is a great morning this morning here in the capital. There's a lot going on today. Markets are rebounding, which has been pretty nice if you were able to put some orders in and catch the bottom or around the bottom. Seems like things are going up. Interestingly enough, the US dollar is staying strong, sticky strong, which means normally that risk assets will go down, but I think it has it kind of shows what the overall picture is looking like. The S&P 500, the stock market, is really just keeps going to all-time highs. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But again, it's hard to catch the total bottom and it's hard to catch the top. So you want to keep looking for things. The trend is continuing upward on the S&P 500, and that looks like that's going to continue for now. I feel like, we'll see what happens with the US dollar, but I think one of the things I talk about, a lot of people don't understand, but they use the commodities market in order to remove liquidity. One of the functions of the central bank is also market making, and market making is one of the ways they remove liquidity from the markets. So when what will do, and they do it very effectively, they will crash commodities markets like Bitcoin very easily for them to do, especially now that the ETFs have so much of the Bitcoin. They're holding so much of it. But they'll crash the market, they'll remove that liquidity from the market, and then those US dollars are out of circulation. And if you don't think that those dollars are out of circulation, ask the traders if they still have their dollars. They don't. Okay, so that money is out of circulation. So this is one of the ways that the central bank removes liquidity from the market. It's not something that's talked about very much, but they do it, and they do it pretty effectively, let me tell you. So let's see, what else do we have here? A majority of Americans are they do like the plan of deporting the illegal aliens. So I think that the amount of illegal aliens is a bit up for discussion, but over 50% of Republicans support deporting the illegal aliens, and then over 40% of the Democrats in a recent poll support deporting the illegal aliens. So it remains to be seen. I still don't see the support for it on a larger scale. It's one thing to support deporting them. It's another thing to deploy the military, knocking on doors and pulling people out and shipping them home. Don't get me wrong, that is what should happen. 100%, absolutely, that is what should happen. I just, in the current environment, it's hard for me to see. But it is supported, and I think a lot of that has to do with the amount of pressure that people feel from all of these illegal aliens that are here, and they're getting paid basically to live here. I mean, and I've said it over the years, over and over again, but basically it's like importing an army. Okay, I mean, we've imported an army. It's really, it's the Democrat Party, of course, has been front and center on all of that, but it's the NGOs and the different people that the administrative state that have taken over the government, the deep state, the so-called deep state, the central bank, that have funded bringing all these people in. And of course, the Congress and the Senate, they've rubber stamped these things. And that actually has really shaped a lot of how I have put together so much that the central bank is in complete control. The central bank is in complete control of the United States. There's no doubt about that. So if we did deport the illegal aliens, that would take a big load off. Right now, not only are they getting money to live, they're getting money. Like they're getting checks, they're getting cash, they're getting debit cards. Like we're paying them money, billions and billions of dollars per month. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But we're also putting them up in hotels. like nice hotels, like full on hotels. Then we're also giving him housing and apartments and everything else. That's one of the reasons why the rental properties prices have stayed so high, because people are just getting they're just getting funded by the government in order to pay for those things. So pretty interesting. Putin is in North Korea and Vietnam. He's making his world tour around the world. Of course, Kim Jong-un and President Putin have a long history of their friendship, and that recent visit was it was on display, I should say. It was on display, and they did. I think Putin gave him some kind of nice luxury Russian-made limousine, and they exchanged pleasantries. They signed deals, and they're gonna work together. Now, I think that primarily it's fine, and I think that the problem that we have is that the U.S. is so kind of out of touch with our foreign policy. Between all the wars that are going on, that we've basically created a situation. The U.S. has created a situation where countries of the world are looking for leadership. The U.S. is kind of void of leadership, and there's no clear leader. Obviously, we have Joe, who walks around aimlessly. Everybody knows. I mean, everybody knows that Trump was the crowd favorite in 2020, and we had some funny business go on. If they weren't sure that there was funny business going on, well, there certainly are. They see the product of it, and it's like my wife always says: if there's smoke, there's fire, right? If there's smoke, there's fire, and it's not always 100% true, but if there's smoke, there's fire, right? So if Joe gets in and he does a wonderful job and he's killing it and everybody's doing a wonder, the country's going absolutely bonkers, well, then that's one thing, right? Well, then, all right, well, maybe it wasn't something. But he gets in, the country goes to pot. Foreign policy is a mess. Military-industrial complex is crazy. We have wars all over the place. The economy is in the crapper. And then you say, okay, well, that's not right? Something's up with that. So, but the countries of the world are looking for leadership. They're looking for stability. They're looking for partners. And Russia comes, and they're a strong partner. If you are one of the countries of the world, you want Russia as a partner. Ask Syria. Syria would be wiped off the map. Syria would be in as bad a shape as some of these other countries if it wasn't for Russia. Russia did not let that happen, and you see what's happening now with Africa. Africa has really turned to Putin and to Russia for stability and for partnership. And then you have this BRICS, the BRICS nations that just keep growing, and the BRICS nations. I mean, we'll see how this develops. 11 years ago or 10 years ago, when we put together with the group, I say we put together the Global Boost currency, and of course we see over here Global Boost Media. In our Genesis block, we talked about BRICS, and we talked about it was just starting. It was like in the news, and we talked about BRICS forming. And these countries are working more and more together. They're stopping the using the dollar whenever they can. And when they're not using the dollar, of course, those dollars come back to the U.S. and they're traded in for their own currency, or they're traded in for other types of currencies or whatever else. And when they come back here, then that also makes your inflation higher, because there's more U.S. dollars that are diluted into the supply. So that is happening. So as BRICS continues to develop, and it shows no signs of slowing down, and that is a gold-backed, at least they're saying right now, that is a gold-backed currency. Now, that if Russia is at the head of it, of course, that is not the central banking cartel, which manages or owns most of the central banks across the world. So that is, there's going to be wars that are fought over that, and we can see that right now with our proxy war with Russia. We can see with our, also we've been at war with Syria, forever. They are also not part of the central banking cartel. So Putin is really making his moves. There is talks of civil war. There has been talks of civil war in the U.S. And of course, the U.S. is a constitutional republic, or used to be anyway, not a democracy. But the left wing of this country certainly is very much has been pushing this democracy since for as long as I can remember. We're a democracy. We're a democracy. We're a democracy. So they don't want it to be a constitutional republic. Obviously, if they wanted it to be a constitutional republic, they would just say it was a constitutional republic. That's what the country was started as, is a constitutional republic. But there is talks of civil war. I think personally, we're very far. We're pretty far from any type of civil war. There's a lot of rant and this and that and chest beating that goes on social media. And I don't blame people for being upset. But everybody's, I mean, if you're too scared to come to Washington, D.C. and protest, then you shouldn't be talking about a civil war. Okay. And right now, the entire right is the Republican Party are just frozen in fear of coming to Washington, D.C. I mean, I don't know. I've never seen anything like it before in my whole life. One side will come here and protest and everything else, and the other side won't do anything. And I get it in a point. I partly get it because we have a lot of people sitting in jail right now, and the Republican Party, the people or the party, did nothing about it. So those people are still sitting in jail. So I get that point of it, but the just laying over and dying and not doing anything about it, and then saying, "Oh, civil war is coming." I mean, that's kind of a joke, guys. You need to come to D.C. You got to come to D.C. This is where all the decisions are made. This is where the people in power are. So if you want to affect what's going on, you have to come to Washington, D.C. That's just the facts. Okay. So anyway, I've been saying that for a long time. So there is continued talk, and we're about to jump into the markets as well, but there's continued talk about Gavin Newsom, or somebody replacing Joe Biden in the election, which would just be absolutely extraordinary. I mean, this would be extraordinary. Somebody replacing the president of the United States on that ticket. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that they're going to replace Joe Biden on the ticket? I mean, it just seems pretty far-fetched to me. But I will admit, it also seems pretty far-fetched that Joe makes it over the line for the election, right? I mean, not for the election, but for the next 4 years. I mean, let's say he gets through the election, but this guy can't even walk around, and look like he's got his stuff together. I don't know. I mean, it seems far-fetched to me. So you got to wonder then what's going on. And then I get back to my original thesis, which was even a year ago, that they've already decided that Trump is going to win. Trump is going to win the election, and they're just going to make sure that he can't do anything about it. And I actually think that this is most probably what will happen. And if you even look at who's surrounding him right now, and I don't know. I mean, so yeah, I mean, so now I don't even want to get into it, but he's endorsing all kinds of people that you're just like, what? What's going on? Of course, the RNC, we have a definite rhino kind of in charge there. We have Laura Trump, I understand, as the second person. They're all talking about how they're going to go after everybody that's cheating and everything else. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't think so. If you don't have the DOJ, then you're not really going to go after anybody. And even now they're suing here and suing there. But the judicial system, the courts are cooked. So if the courts are cooked, then why do you keep taking everybody to court? A lot of this stuff, like the Republican Party, should have taken care of this stuff, and it hasn't happened. So we'll see. I mean, the country is it's crazy time. It doesn't mean we just throw up our hands and say the heck with it. Obviously, we have to do it, but we'll have that election. What is it? So June, July, August, September, October, November. So 5 months, 5 months away from this election. Between the magic electronic voting machines, the mail-in ballot or the absentee ballots that are now called mail-in ballots, and the millions and tens of millions. I mean, people are, oh, it's 5.7 or even like 10 million. There's like over 20 million people that have been brought here in this Biden administration, according to Tucker Carlson. And they're telling him, I mean, we see over and over again the evidence of them telling them they're going to vote, giving him mail-in ballots, absentee ballots. You have Obama on record saying that when you vote, you are a citizen, you know, all these types of things. And everybody, I see a lot of optimism in the Republican Party, and optimism is great. And Trump is very optimistic, but I just don't know, guys. I mean, really, you think that, you know, and then I just go back to, okay, well, they're going to let him win, and then they're going to make him make sure he's not able to do anything. But, you know, even like Malloy, I know I mentioned him the other day, but he endorses Malloy. Malloy is, you know, these guys, none of these guys did anything to get anybody out of jail. Everybody's still sitting in jail for January 6th, which was a total op, by all appearances, from our intelligence community. So anyway, let's hop into the markets. I have a report here from the great Matt Dixon. Matt Dixon of Eve. Matt, they are, of course, they are working on their relaunch of their platform. So I have a recorded one today. So let me add that to my screen. Markets are looking nice. And, you know, that's one thing, as things go crazy, you want to make sure that you are making money. Because if you're making money, honey, a lot of things are okay. A lot of things are much better, right? A lot of things are much better with money. All right, let's see what we have with Matt Dixon here.
Good morning, Bruce. Morning, Impact Money viewers. So today we're seeing a little bit of a bounce back across crypto. We're seeing dollar indexes remaining sticky. We're going to look at a couple of AI tokens, and we'll just have a little bit of a recap on eBay, the eBay offering. But in general, things are looking reasonably good. So we'll start off with the SPX that continues to defy gravity. We can see it here once again, new all-time highs. And it's interesting to see the stock market, the S&P 500, is actually outperforming the other risk assets, crypto, Bitcoin, etc. So the question is the S&P 500 leading the way with Bitcoin and so on lagging, hopefully to catch up soon, or will the S&P basically turn down to match what has been happening with Bitcoin? Well, I think the answer will become clear, or my expectations will become clear as we go through today. So as I said, dollar index, first of all, is remaining a little bit sticky. So we had the movement up A, B, C possibly, and we're seeing some further strength. So we had basically what appears to be an ABC down from the top. That looks like an ABC, but it could also potentially be what's called a leading diagonal. If that was the case, being a leading diagonal, then basically it's the start of the move down. But at the moment, dollar index is looking reasonably strong, and that's because the rest of the world is showing more signs of slowdown. But as Bruce said yesterday in his interview, the US economy is actually showing, especially internally for people on the ground there, is showing signs of slowing down. And we've started to see signs of slowing resale sales, of worsening unemployment, and a number of other signs basically showing that the US economy is beginning to sputter a little bit. So if that were to happen, then we will at some point see that interest rate reduction that we've been waiting for so long from the Fed. When that happens, then I think we'll see a very sharp reversal on the US dollar. So there's not a lot of news coming out at the moment. I think GDP is coming up in a few days' time. It'll be very interesting to see where the GDP sits, because there's been big downgrades on expectations, and we'll just see where that lies. GDP, of course, gross domestic product, is a sign of the health of the US economy, and that will be important to see, because that will impact the Fed's rate setting, their decisions on the interest rates, which obviously then affects risk assets, Bitcoin, crypto, etc. So we'll need to keep a close eye on that. At the moment, as I say, we're seeing some reasonably impulsive movement up on DXY, but it's absolutely not clear at the moment. And as I say, I think I'll just expand that out a little bit for us to see perhaps a bit more clearly where we're at. But potentially, in fact, I just need to check this because the third wave is not allowed to be the shortest, even on a leading diagonal. So I'll just measure the magnitude of these waves. So that's wave potentially. Wave 3. Okay, wave 3 would be longer, so that's okay, that's allowable. So potentially, and also, by the way, a leading diagonal normally goes pretty well within trend lines, which is actually exactly what's happened. So potentially it could be a leading diagonal, and this could just be part of a correction higher, and then we're expecting further downside. So at the moment, the jury is out. We can still potentially expect downside to come on dollar index. So this can be read as corrective or impulsive to the downside. But as I say, it's a perfectly valid leading diagonal, which would mean that the movement up is corrective, and we would then expect some more movement to the downside. So I'm not quite sure what would prompt that, but as I say, there's risk both ways. So we probably need to look at other assets to try and get a clearer picture. We will just touch on gold, which again appears to be corrective to the upside. So we can see all this overlapping, virtually sideways movement. So no clear direction there. And if we scroll out a little bit just to see where we're at longer term, we're still in that consolidation where from the top, well, it's not quite the top there, but basically we have an A, a B, and a C to the downside. There's again a couple of possibilities there. This looking corrective looks to me as though we're going to have more downside to come on gold. If that's the case, that would basically mean perhaps, I mean, gold is a traditional hedge against inflation. So when there's inflation risks, gold often does appreciate because people put into gold because it's a store of value, a hedge against inflation. So this being corrective to the upside means probably we would expect a bit more downside to come. And that would be ideal because if this is some kind of expanded correction, the A, the B has actually gone higher than the origin of the A, and the C would be expected to come down below the end of the A wave here. So I would expect perhaps a little bit more downside, but following that, I would expect gold to push to new all-time highs once again. So I think gold is looking bullish. As I say, DXY, it's actually really impossible, not DXY, sorry, let's look at the S&P 500. The S&P 500, as we see here, has pushed once again to new all-time highs. Now, the problem is, as I mentioned yesterday, it's very difficult when an asset is continually pushing to new all-time highs. It's virtually impossible to pick the top. You can do Fibonacci extensions, look at potential tops in the market. This was one of them, and we actually sailed straight through this level here at 5379. And that's what I say, it is virtually impossible. So you actually need to wait for some kind of divergence in the market. I mean, we are actually seeing some signs of divergence. So for example, we can see, I'll just put the lines in so you can see what I mean by divergence. We're basically seeing from here higher highs on price, and at the same time we're seeing a lower high on RSI. So pretty well, correct, we can go back a bit further there, but it's still perfect basic divergence there. So this is what's called regular bearish divergence. It's telling you that actually the volume is not what's pushing this up. So maybe some of the big people, institutions, probably have the same idea as me that this is a potential top around here. And a lot of people perhaps cashed out approaching that top, and you can see the price push down here. And it's not volume that's pushing it up, because we can see volume is actually falling, and yet price is still rising. So that means there's less volume in the market. There aren't a lot of sellers. People sold out here, pushing the price down here. So there aren't sellers, there's buyers, but they tend to be a small volume of buyers, which are pushing the price higher. But as I say, the volume isn't there. So that is a typical sign of regular bearish divergence. But what we would look for before we actually sold, as I say, it's very, very difficult and dangerous to pick the top. And there's the old saying, the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. And so this kind of irrational push to the upside, when we're seeing weakness in the US economy, and you know, there's a lot of problems potentially around the world, geopolitical as well. and yet we're seeing that the market pushing higher and higher. So this is irrational exuberance, as once one of the central bankers once said, potentially. So what we would expect to see is a downturn, but we can't pick where that will be. And what we need to wait for is some signs of a turnaround. So we'd look for a bearish candlestick setup, some kind of bearish candlestick setup. At the moment, that isn't the case. So all the candlesticks are still looking very, very bullish. There are no signs. Every time we see a bit of a downturn, it's just corrective in 3 waves, corrective, corrective, just small sideways corrections. So we're seeing higher highs and higher lows. So you can see the low here, the next low is higher, the next low is higher, and so on. And here, the next high is higher and higher and higher and higher. So the trend is still to the upside. So don't bet against the trend, basically. The trend is your friend, as traders always say. And so we need to be careful in this market not to try to anticipate the top in the market. We need to actually say, allow the market to show us. It would mean we don't get the exact top of the market, but it's a much safer way to trade, to get some confirmation that the market's potentially turned before you do that. So now we'll head over into crypto, and we'll look at Bitcoin first of all. Just look at the bigger picture, just to see where we likely are. I mean, here's the all-time high. It's still very, very much in consolidation phase. The consolidation perfectly can continue to the downside, or it may even mean that this X wave is not yet complete, and I would suspect that's probably the case. So I do think we've got some upside, probably to retest the previous all-time high before we get a further correction to the downside. So this looks corrective to the downside. This whole movement looks corrective, and so there's it looks, with being all corrected, it means there should be a new all-time high to come at some point, but it may not happen immediately. As I say, we may just retest that all-time high, get a further correction, and then break to a new all-time high. So be very dangerous to be leveraged in this market, because we could potentially get a bit of a nasty turn down, and if you're over leveraged, you could end up wiping out. But to be long in the market is perhaps not a bad idea, and I will be looking around, whenever we get a good pullback and correction, I would look to be DCAing, dollar cost averaging, because I think sooner or later we will see new all-time highs in Bitcoin. And even if we just get a push up to the previous all-time high, that would be quite a substantial move. Right now, 64,009, previous all-time high, 73.8 or something. So we're looking at a good percentage move potentially to the upside there. So I think that's reasonably positive. Solana again is reasonably positive. So we can see here with Solana again, it's looking like a corrective move. Now that correction may not have finished. It may continue to the downside here. But it looks more likely, because we've had 5 waves down from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, giving us an A wave. Then we've had 3 waves higher, but we're also having what looks like some kind of 3-wave move to the downside, where the A wave measured here, transposed to the B wave here, 1.618 gives us this level here. And that level's very important. That golden ratio level is very, very important. And I'll try and open this out a little bit for you to see where we're actually at the moment. So this move down, as I say, there's the ABC movement down, which I think is probably the precursor to a movement to the upside to finish off a larger correction, WXY correction to the upside, with a target, as I said yesterday, of around $199 to the upside there. Now we have got some mild, regular bullish divergence, and actually we've got a really nice solid green candle. So far it's an engulfing green candle, bullish engulfing. So let's hope the day finishes with that engulfing, bullish engulfing candle there. So the downside here, the 1.618, we just spiked fractionally below it, but it's been on it pretty well, and we pushed up. So it could be a 1-2-1-2 with further upside to come. I like upside on this. As I say, it all looks corrective for the time being. I do think we've got higher to go, even if we were to go lower. So once again, I'd be very, very wary of leveraging in this kind of market, because there is potential for more downside, but the actual setup, the corrective look of the market looks promising, that we should see, even if we see a bit further downside short term, we should see a really solid push to the upside. And if you think about, where we dipped to the other day, 128, and as I say, that was the sort of area around that 130 area to jump in. We're still at 137 right now as I speak. So if you jumped in there, you can protect your position, guaranteed profit no matter what happens, with good potential upside, and probably a lesser potential for downside. So that looks really promising. Now, we will just mention a couple of AI tokens. Obviously, we've got eBay going to be opening up on the Solana network. Should be next week. And eBay is one of those AI tokens which has great potential, because we're using AI technology to implement modern portfolio theory, which is the old traditional theory that is used by all fund managers, but it's kind of updated to the current, using AI technology and adaptive computing to allow it to help you make decisions to empower your decision making with crypto assets. And so there's more work to be done there, but it's a great promising token, and I think next week will be very, very exciting. So we will continue to update you on the opportunity there, and we'll probably jump back to some of these tokens, but probably just touch on them. You can see some great movement there with Bonk, which is one of the meme tokens, although it does have real use case now, but up 6.7% today. Doge, which I think is one of Bruce's favorites, 2.69% today, but it's still a little bit in the doldrums there. Plenty of room for upside if the market does pump. Same with Book of Memes, 5.6% today. Again, it has great use case behind it now, but it's one of those volatile tokens. When the market goes up, it tends to go up more. Shiba up 3%. TON is a great token. As I said, we mentioned it yesterday. It's been mentioned in eBay ratings. We mentioned it on the Impact Money show, and it does have tremendous potential. It reached all-time high 10 days ago now, and it's pushing back up strongly again today, 4.2% up right now. We'll just have a quick look at the TON chart there. So it's pushed up. We mentioned it yesterday. It's a good potential buy, and it's been featured in the eBay ratings a number of times. There's the all-time high. TON looks really, really good. Even if we get a bit further correction downside, I'm still very bullish TON longer term. Here's one that we mentioned yesterday, and again, we mentioned it as a good potential buy. We can see that spike down just below the 0.618 we mentioned yesterday. It's pushed up really nicely since then. It's pushed up apparently in 5 waves, which is, we see 3 waves down, and we're seeing a small 5-wave move up. This could be a smaller wave 1. We may get a little pullback in wave 2, but it's telling me that it's looking like the impulsive direction is the upside. I did say yesterday, I'm expecting price to move to new all-time highs once again, probably over the next few days. So Ondo is one of those great tokens that I'm looking at. And again, we're getting a bit of a bounce back in Jasmy, which is a very popular token once again. And again, this looks corrective to the downside. So again, bit of a Jasmy fan at the moment. Not necessarily, I don't look an awful lot into the actual tokens very often. I did look at Ondo, looks really good use case there. Jasmy, I think, is about data storage, data protection. But I just look more at the charts and the technical outlook, and then use the eBay platform to give me a better picture of the underlying value of the tokens. So all of those look really good. GameStop, which we call the meme stock, is in the doldrums. I don't like it. I don't know why I keep referring to it. It's just very volatile. I know there's been a lot of interaction with it, so that's just why I suppose I mention it. So I will just switch across if I can to, let me see, where am I looking now? I wanted to look at some eBay picks for the day. I'm just trying to think where I will have stored those. Anyway, we're picking on a couple of the AI tokens for today, and that's why I can't see it, because it's obscured. Yeah. So we're picking on a couple of the AI tokens for today, and here we can see Bitcoin. I mentioned yesterday had been downgraded, and as we saw overnight, we got some downward movement. Today it's once again been upgraded back up to AAA, the top position, the highest possible rating. So again, I'd kind of anticipate that we're going to get some positive movement on Bitcoin, which leads the market. It tends to lead the market. Yes, I know the alts have been left behind a little bit recently, but if we see Bitcoin pumping, I've got no doubt the rest will pump with it. And we can see BNB, Binance Coin, has been upgraded, big upgrade there. So I'm expecting further positive movement on Binance. I love Binance obviously as a business, but also with their reward mechanism, basically buy and burn from profits. And that's actually exactly the same mechanism that eBay will be using with their proprietary fund. So all eBay holders, anybody who holds the eBay token, when we get that proprietary fund out there, and we're actually doing a financial raise right now for that, all the profits, or a proportion of the profits from the fund will be used to buy and burn the eBay token. So that's supply and demand covered. That should give upward pressure on the token price and should reward token holders accordingly. So I think that's amazing. It's using AI to power the fund, which then rewards token holders. So I think that's great. And it's the same model as Binance used to reward their token holders. Fetch AI. Again, we had an upgrade on Fetch, so it's one to look at, perhaps to consider in your portfolio. Again, Singularity.net was another one that had a recent upgrade, so another one to be watching. OKC is, very, very interesting token. It's obviously not done well over the past 7 days, but 24-hour performance is good, and it had an upgrade. So it's one I'd be doing some more DD on, basically take a closer look. And Mantra DAO as well is yet another one that had a fair pullback over the last 7 days, but it's getting a good bounce back now. And with that upgrade, it's one that I would definitely do some further DD and possibly consider as part of a diversified portfolio. So that's pretty much it for today. A short show. I know Bruce has got an awful lot, an awful lot that he's doing with, with politics and everything. I mean, we're 5 months away now, and it's already heating up, isn't it? So that would be quite interesting to see what Bruce has to tell us there. But I'll be back tomorrow with the upgrades and downgrades from the eBay, with the latest news, with the latest performance from the upgrades that we've mentioned today. And thank you for listening, and look forward to catching up again very soon. And thanks a lot. Bye for now.
Well, there you have it, the great Matt Dixon, who will be back in person in the flesh tomorrow. I know they have a lot going on with this eBay launch. It is, things, first of all, things take time, okay? And as well, it's important that you have a lot of people that get involved in something like that. You have a lot of investors and people. So you got to make sure that you do them right, and you do what you need to be, what needs to be done. But what a gentleman and a scholar, the great Matt Dixon. It's always a pleasure to have him on his show, and his analysis is really, it's bar none. I trade with it. If you trade with how Matt tells you to trade, you'll win most of the time. You should win most of the time. And if you win most of the time in trading, that's all you need to do. Okay. And you can really make yourself a lot of money as well. Trading. Buy and hold is also a very good option. I was talking with one of my friends yesterday about it. Actually, I've done well trading, but the best I've done is buying and holding. Absolutely. I mean, Bitcoin has gone from $70 to $70,000. So there you go. And a lot of the other ones have done similar runs. So pretty interesting. Of course, that S&P 500, pretty interesting, right? I mean, it's just like, it just keeps going. Hard to get the top there. That is for sure. So as Matt closed out, of course, the political situation in the U.S. is really just unbelievable. It is, and it's not just in the U.S. Actually, it's all over the world. So you have a little bit of, and it is posturing. You have that going on over in the Middle East. It is a lot of posturing, believe me. The U.S., whether you like it or not, is so far in bed with Israel that it is what it is, or the other way around. Israel is so far in bed with the U.S. As a matter of fact, you could definitely make the case that the control is coming from Tel Aviv, not from Washington. But that's a whole other thing. But that a little bit of back and forth. Oh, we're not sending weapons. That Netanyahu gives the thing, but I mean, it's all just kind of theater. because they're opening up this new front, or that front has been opened up with Lebanon. You got Hezbollah, and I actually predicted this. I kind of stopped predicting it because, of course, everybody's like, and, they get all upset. People get emotional about it, but it's fairly predictable that that war was not going to stop in Gaza, and that it was going to continue, and they're going to, I don't see really any end in that anytime soon. Unfortunately, of course, Hezbollah says if they warn Cyprus, if you allow Israel to run operations from there, we're going to attack you too. Hezbollah has an army of about 100,000, is what they're boasting. I don't know what they have, to be frank, but I do know that the Congress is already writing. They are already writing the new bill. That the new legislation that is going to tax you another $2,000. Okay, and that is an absolute. That's based on a family of 4. You're gonna get taxed that. Let me just put this out here. Nothing. Israel shows no signs of the Middle East war. I'll call it the Middle East war. And let me know what you think. It shows no signs of slowing. Another 100 billion legislation coming in the next 30 days, ? What do you think? Let me know what you think. Do you think we're about to get taxed another? And the way you'll feel that tax is you'll feel that tax in inflation. So you can imagine how much money you have now, or how much money you're going to make in the year, and then how much $2,000 is in is in that number, and then you can kind of decipher how much you're going to feel this next tax. And they'll put in there Ukraine, and I guess Taiwan as well, but another 100 billion. Every time they do 100 billion, that is basically another $2,000 that is on top of your normal tax that you're already paying all over the place, that is charged to you in order to pay for that. Central bank fronts the US dollars. They make around 3% off of that. So they make $3 billion off of that transaction by just fronting paper money. And then they come back and they dilute the money supply and they take it from you. And then the other part of this is the interest. The interest bill, which is now is about $34 trillion, is coincidentally always the amount of money that is taken in the federal income tax yearly. So that whole system, the central banking system, the Federal Reserve, the IRS, which is it's all part of it. Okay, all started in 1913. Okay, so it started in the same year, and then we went to war. I talk about it every day. We went to World War I in 1914, and really have never looked back. And they have basically taken so much of your wealth, you just don't even understand. So that's continuing. Of course, we have NATO coming out. NATO came out today, or over the last 24 hours, and they said that we have to stop. We have got to stop BRICS. And what did I talk about at the beginning of the show? I talked about how we're going to fight wars over this currency. We are going to fight wars over this currency, and that's true. So 59 more countries want to join BRICS. Robert F. Kennedy talking about it. I'm just kind of scrolling through my Twitter feed. We should not see this as a threat, but a wake-up call, is what he says. Let's see here. North Korea, Kim Jong-un, and Russia, Putin share a toast after signing a new historic partnership agreement. I guess I can, let me just, as I'm looking through this, I will boom, share this. It is very interesting, guys, that, this is the first time we've seen anything like this. This is Kim and Putin sharing a toast after they just signed an historic agreement. Putin is, of course, making the rounds. He's making the rounds. Quite interesting there. Very close. Let's see here how the end of the petrodollar is changing the world. I will say I did touch on this whole petrodollar and how you saw the dollar actually strengthened after that happened. But all of that stuff is already kind of it's priced in. You know what I mean? They knew that was going to happen. Actually, they were already doing some. Transactions out of the dollar, and I'm talking specifically about the fact that we had a 50-year agreement with Saudi Arabia to only sell oil in U.S. dollars. That agreement sunsetted like last week or something like that. But it was already happening, and when you have something like that, that's factored in to the markets. So Trump, Barron Trump, and then I want to talk about smart money culture. So Barron Trump. So this guy Skekel, Martin Skekel. You remember Martin Skekel? Martin Skekel, or Skekel. This is the guy that he was like ahead of some whatever it was, and then he decided that he was going to raise the price of insulin to like some ungodly number. Okay, and he just didn't care, and he kept raising the prices, and then he ended up going to jail for a while. But yesterday on a X Spaces, this guy Skekel, all right, DJT coin. Let me look at it. Was saying that the Donald J. Trump coin, DJT coin, was like officially that the Trumps were involved in this, and he was saying on this Spaces that Barron was in on it. And so Trump's son Barron teamed up with Cobra, Tate, and Martin Shkreli to launch Donald J. Trump coin, DHT, the mass dump on the folks in a few minutes. Here's why. I was listening to this, and so here's Mario. Is DGT the official Donald Trump meme coin? Rumors are swirling that DJT allegedly created 18-year-old Barron Trump. I was just like, I mean, this guy, it's one of those things. I mean, I have nothing against Martin. I actually kind of supported him a little bit when he was in trouble. I mean, as I described him, I don't know why really, but this is listening to this for a while now. The Space is going on for hours. So far, zero evidence that DJT is real. On top of that, they claim that the MAGA is Don Jr.'s coin only. But it was pretty funny because as this was all going on, the nobody was buying it. Like nobody was buying Martin, and Martin was saying he created it with Don Jr. and blah 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 and this and that and the other. And then the great Roger Stone comes out. Oh, here he is. Should consider suing the creator of DJ. Roger Stone, who was of course longtime friend and ally of Donald Trump, comes out and says, "Real Donald Trump and son Barron are not involved anyway with DJT coin," and I think that is absolutely correct. I would say that is absolutely correct. And Martin just can't help himself, I guess. I mean, that's my take on it. And if he did get into and he was there with Barron, I mean, first of all, Barron's 18 years old, and Martin's got to be, I don't know how old he is, but I would say he's probably in his late 30s or 40s. I have no idea. What's he doing with some kid, not some kid, obviously Barron's not some kid, but the whole thing stinks. Even if he's there and he's doing it on Barron's computer, which is what he alleges, the whole thing still stinks. So you got to be careful out there. But it was pretty interesting because nobody was buying it. One thing I wanted to talk about as well, and I'll probably kind of wrap up with this, but the Smart Money Culture TV network, the Smart Money Culture TV network is the network that we are on every day, and we broadcast currently into 7 million homes in the 4th largest economy in the world. Let me see here. Smart Money Culture on Smart Money Culture TV. You can go to smartmoneyculture.tv or the smc.tv, and you can take a look at what we're doing there. We are growing. We are growing a lot, and right now, as I said, 7 million. We're on 7 million TVs. And the fourth largest economy in the world. And of course, I stream. I love streaming on X and LinkedIn and YouTube and all the rest. But we are growing a lot. We're expanding, and if that's something that you think that you want to be involved in, if you like the content, if you like what we're doing here, and you want to see us grow, then you should click that Get Involved button. I'll go right over to the Smart Money Culture TV Network. I can do that here. Boom, boom, boom. Add to stage. So here we are. I'm going to mute this tab, and that should not give us a feedback. And you can see, actually, I'm not going to do that right now. Okay. Because you won't get rich by watching sitcoms. So you can see here we have Impact Money shows right here that we're doing. This is Fly Mackey. This is the great Fly Mackey. I talk about him all the time. Fly and I work together every single day. We work together every day, and we are putting together our next big event as well. Our next big event is going to be in New York City during the UN General Assembly. Okay, so we're doing the blockchain week during the UN General Assembly, which is really more like a 2-week thing, to be honest. And then we're going to do our Washington Elite Gala again there during the UN General Assembly. So there's more information. We're building the site out still now, unblockchainweek.com. Still building it out right now. But the blockchain week during the United Nations General Assembly, that's going to be really everything fintech. And then as well, we're going to do our signature gala that we just did in Austin. It was a lot of fun. But Fly and I are working together all the time. There he is, the man with the plan. He has leveraged out. And the funny thing is, too, guys, as much as I talk about downing the banks and all this stuff, and I firmly believe it, we also use everything at our disposal in order to make things happen. So you're doing all kinds of things with the banks in order to put that in. But these are the current markets that we have right here: College Station, Beaumont, College Station, Texas; Beaumont, Texas; Houston, Texas; Corpus Christi; Lake Charles, Louisiana; Tallahassee, Florida is coming soon, and we have more that are coming as well. 24/7, 168 hours per week, and we have more shows coming here. But you can see a lot of the different things that we have here. So I invite you to go that, and then if you want to get in touch, click on Get in Touch, and that'll bring you right over here to our contact page, and you can get involved and be part of it. We have different programs that we're doing. Of course, we have revenue sharing and everything like that. It's going great. The thing about TV is the ROI is so high. The ROI on TV is so high. I love social media. I love my X account. Obviously, you guys know me. I'm here every day. I'm posting all the time. I love it. But I'll tell you what, that ROI on TV is king right now. And we use social media to break through the barriers, to talk to each other. I love it. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's necessary to have it. But the ROI on TV is absolutely it's astounding. So for every $1 that you spend on TV, your ROI is $7. Okay, and those are the real numbers. And I think it's one of the reasons why they try to keep people off of TV, because people turn the TV on. You probably watch TV every day. I don't watch TV at all, but I'm in the extreme minority. My wife watches TV, and everybody else I know pretty much watches TV. They turn the TV on, they watch their certain shows, or they just have it going on in the background. They get their news that way. The way that we get news is different. The way that we on social media get news is different, right? We're more involved. We're talking back and forth and this and that. But there's also a place for it. And just even think about the TVs on at the bar, or at the airport, or all these other places. So the TV ROI on TV is huge, and it's really enabled us to do some amazing things. So if you do want to get involved, click on that and get involved. We love doing the show. It's been a lot of fun, guys. We do this every morning. The Impact Money Show. The Impact Money Show. It's a lot of fun, and we enjoy it a lot. I'm going to sign off for now. I'll be back on in a few hours. Cheers.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.